Hello, I'm Raven649 on YouTube, Lindsay Liu, and AKL Robinson on my blog. Um, yeah, welcome to we are going on a roller coaster ride of conversations. Let's go we on the roller coaster of conversations. Yeah, that was my title. You can tell I'm a little roller coaster like. It could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Who knows? I have Jeff Keller here. I'm very happy he's in my room. He's like the best conversationist around.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be here. I appreciate that.
My sister actually left and went to the store. I couldn't go on mic before because she was all like singing. And then I wouldn't go on cam because Lucifer was in Brojo's room, and I feel uncomfortable being on cam when Lucifer's in the room for some reason. I don't know what I think about that. Does he literally think he's Lucifer, or is he
Well,
just fucking trolling with us?
yeah, with a name like Lucifer, that's a pretty high bar or low bar. So, does he seem devilish? I don't think I know who that is actually.
Oh, yeah.
I've probably encountered Lucifer online before, but
So yes, I don't know what we're going to talk about. Hopefully, other people come in. I did put the link on their thingy.
hmm.
Oh, let's just invite all my circles, just to make it fun.
The more the merrier.
Run. Well, I'm friends with a lot of people, and sometimes people don't like me inviting like Down Corner or Hillary.
I've talked to both of those people. Down Corner, I've enjoyed my conversations with him. Hillary, my conversations with her have been interesting. Mostly, the most interesting thing that she said to me was by looking at my avatar picture, which you now see, she was able to determine that I had never lived in New York City, which is correct. I I didn't quite follow her logic as to how she determined that, but anyway, I mean,
You don't have
she
fear in your eyes.
I'm sorry.
You don't have fear in your eyes? I don't know.
Oh no, well, actually, I've spent a lot of time in New York City, especially as a child, and love New York City a lot. And I did aspire actually to one day live there, but I don't really have that interest now. But uh, I it was just funny, and I do appreciate that New York City has a certain mentality to it and a certain attitude that living anywhere else, probably in the world, can't really equal. New York City is a unique place, but it was funny that she said that, and I accept that she had some basis for it, but I didn't quite understand her uh, her thinking is. I didn't quite understand how she came to that conclusion, but anyway. Um,
Nonetheless, she was correct.
she was correct. Yeah. Well, either you live in New York City or you don't, or you have lived there or you don't. So it
I've
was a
never been
50
there.
it was a 50-50 thing, and she was correct. Yeah.
Yeah. I know from Hillary, she's wonderful. It's just, fortunately, sometimes people on here will get on her case about certain things
Hmm.
and trigger her, and then she gets upset. So I have certain people. on my do not invite list, but I invited all my circles, so
Yeah.
that
I,
circle got invited. Hey, Ruben. Shalom alaikum.
hey, Ruben.
So I wish her the best. She was in Brojo's room and she was doing really good talking and everything. So I'm glad
Hmm.
she's having a better time on Google Hangouts than what she was a few months ago.
Yeah. That's a
Because I
great
know
way to.
Banto likes to get on her and like pick on her and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he sees it as helping him. I just don't understand how it's helping. And then I get upset. Because I get upset when my friends are being picked on.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, that's who we're.
Lot of different personalities here, and it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Hence the roller coaster.
Indeed.
So, Ruben, do you have any topics you want to talk about? My little text warrior.
Yeah, Ruben, do you just do text or do you?
I've never heard him on mic before, ever.
Interesting.
And I've known him for like, as long as I was Muslim for. I was Muslim for 5 years and now I haven't been Muslim for a year.
Hmm.
So 6 years? Roughly 5, 6 years?
Any reason why you don't do voice communications? I mean, I've seen you forever, but I don't think I've ever, I don't, I've never heard you talk or anything.
Waiting for your answer anticipatively. Smart. I mean, even many reasons. The main one being that I don't have a house to myself, and I don't want to offend probably my mother. Hmm. It's hard enough for her that I'm not offending.
Oh, interesting. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's true because he's like a Jew and he's like a non-theist.
It's, it's really bad when, have this conflict between your relationships, which I understand that you value, but I would think you would have to look at those relationships if you can't be yourself. What is the basis of them? I mean, if you have to be some fantasy to conform to their superstitions, and when you are yourself, you have to hide that. That's seems to be really inauthentic as far as relationships go. But I understand the dilemma, uh, and I understand that stuff can be. Yeah. I mean, are there other concerns as well, economic concerns, or is it just about? Yeah. I guess as a practical matter, if we have there are trade-offs. Hmm.
Someone's screaming and shouting outside my apartment. I don't know where it's coming from. It could be from my neighbor's apartment, could be from across the street. But I hear it, and I'm hard of hearing. So they must be screaming loudly. Hey, Gav.
No.
Yeah, hey, Reuben. Probably not a good conversation for a live hangout, so I'll leave it at that. But interesting. So yeah, we all have to make choices and trade-offs in our lives. It's just a really big trade-off to me to be inauthentic and not be who you are. But I understand that's definitely something that we have to do sometimes.
Jeff, I saw a T-shirt not that long ago that actually made me think of you.
Okay.
It said, how did that go? It was, sure, you can trust the government, just ask an Indian.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that definitely works. Yep.
I'm afraid to
ask
ask
the
if
Irish, or ask the Chinese.
I'm afraid to ask if you've seen a T-shirt that reminds you of me, Gav. I'm not sure I'd want to know what it would say.
Yeah, it had a big stain on it.
Oh, that's wrong just on so many levels, Jeff.
I'm sorry.
That's so bad.
How are you doing, Carlton? I haven't talked to you for a long time.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen you in a while. Doing okay. Doing all right.
Good.
Yeah. Have a nice Valentine's Day.
Yeah, very nice with my Valentine. It was our 29th married Valentine, and we were trying to figure out how many actual Valentine's Day we've been together, which is probably at least 7 or 8 more. So.
Wow, sweet. That's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's really sweet.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, we went out to a little Italian restaurant that, it's unfortunate. It was one of those places in sort of the artsy district that everybody says, ooh, this is a great Italian restaurant. And then you go there and the decor is lovely and it's called Tony's. You can't get better than that. But the food sucked. The food was like Olive Garden, had no flavor, But that was okay. We didn't really care. So
but you do have to give restaurants cut them a little bit of slack on Valentine's Day because they're full and everybody's there.
Oh yeah,
they're
but food.
They're at capacity. So this is kind of a thing with me. It's like somebody said, I went to X, a restaurant that I think is really good. They'll say, I went there and the service was really slow and everything. I said, when did you go? Oh, Mother's Day.
Oh well, God, no. I wasn't critiquing the service at all. But no, just the food. The food was just
the food wasn't good.
It was bland. Yeah, there was nothing. But I should have known better because it's in kind of a touristy area, artsy area. So I was like, of course it's going to be. Yeah, but didn't matter. I went to Walmart and I bought a bunch of flowers and bouquets and potted plants and of course telling the woman on the way out, I said, well, I just have so many Valentines. It's just you get a kick out of that. And I came home, brought my wife the traditional stuffed teddy bear that says Happy Valentine's Day, which we're making a collection of those around the living room. And, so it was a lot of fun. It was a good day.
Nice.
Then I have this freaking list right here. This list. See this list? This is like 3 pages of crap lists. Yeah, this is a list of things that my client who hasn't paid me anything in 2 years is telling me he still wants in the software. That he claims, he sort of claims that this is sort of the all from the initial agreement, which virtually none of it is. He's long since stopped, haven't paid me any money, and I'm just going through this going, do I do the list and just get the freaking thing out of the way and be done with it, or do I be pissy about it and cross off all the paragraphs that are, this is added after the original spec, added, and then just put a big paragraph at the bottom that says I'll be happy to do those for an additional, or do I should just get it out of the freaking way. I'm tired of dealing with them, but anyway, I brought that on. Sorry, that's what I've been working on most of today.
Yeah, I refuse to do work for people, especially if they haven't paid me in 2 years. That's basically one step above slavery.
Well, he it's not that he owes me money. It's that he didn't. It is a long story. It's as much my fault as it is his. But when I first did this, I was between finding jobs, and it had been it would have been a while, right? So I was desperately kind of looking for work. And he wanted this software. It was a warehouse software, and he asked me for a quote. And I quoted him about a third of what I would have normally quoted somebody because I needed the work, right? So I quoted him a third of that, and then he came back and goes, "Oh, well, I'm a new business. I can't pay that. I can only pay a third of what you quoted me." All right, so I'm like, okay, so let me do the math here, right? So I'm basically, and he says, "Oh, I just want this little thing, this thing," and I was like, "Yeah, whatever." So I was just like, "Okay, I can use the money." So I said, "Okay, sure, I'll do it for you," thinking this is a month project, right, at the most, and just get it out of the way, and I'll have a little income in the meantime. Yeah, well, it's been 2 years. He hasn't paid more than the original $5,000. Which he paid 2 years ago, and he keeps adding shit that we never ever discussed before we agreed on a price, And typically, I've been digging my own hole because I've been kind of doing that for him as I've been going, But this is just getting to be freaking ridiculous. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know what he expects for $5,000 after 2 years worth of work. Does he really think he has any credit left?
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm in the middle of another project, so I can't take time away from a real paying client. So he's like, "Oh, I need this today. I need this yesterday." I'm like, "Are you really serious?" And I've tried to tell him subtly, and not so subtly. I said, "Look, I'm done working on this. You need to go find another programmer. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore." And he keeps sending me mails. "I just really need you. I just can't find." I think he's just kind of dragging. I think he's just taking advantage, trying to make me feel bad about this for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, yeah. So, anyway, that really put a damper on the thing. So what else are we talking about?
Oh, well, we were talking to Ruben about stuff, but we can talk about different stuff, because we don't need to talk about that stuff in a live hangout.
That's okay. So Ruben says it's been very tough, especially when people expect you to be extremely religious, and hiding my political views hasn't.
Oh, Carlton, I think Ruben muted you because that's probably not good stuff for a live hangout.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's fine. I'm sorry, Ruben. My bad. I apologize.
I don't want to confuse the audience. Sorry now as the roller coaster goes on.
I didn't realize even we were live, actually. I didn't even notice that. That's totally my fault.
No problem.
You can all hate me now. That's okay.
I'm way too lazy to hate. Hate takes up way too much energy.
It does indeed.
I'll make it worth your while.
So Gav, are you in the States now, or are you back in Israel, or?
No, I'm in Israel. My wife was recently in the States visiting her.
Oh, that's right.
my mother-in-law. I never visit their house because it's haunted by my mother-in-law.
That's right. I remember you were saying that the last time we were on together.
You have a pretty good relationship with your in-laws, Jeff?
I do. In fact, it's funny. I actually knew my mother-in-law for several years before I knew my wife. I've known my wife since junior high, which is middle school. But my mother-in-law worked in the elementary school that I went to, and that my wife went to also. But we were a year apart. So I didn't know her as much until middle school. So yeah, but I do. I have a great relationship with my in-laws. Not the stereotypical sort of problems, which are really nice.
That is nice. My mother-in-law hates my living guts. So.
Oh wow, I can't imagine that. How could she hate you?
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But I mean, because my name doesn't end in PhD, therefore I'm not considered.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Just one of those very, very shallow personalities.
Neither
Wait, who hates you, Gav?
My mother-in-law.
Oh, I see. Well, that's to be expected.
So, just out of curiosity, did your mother-in-law attend the wedding, or was she one of the voices in the choir in the back going, "I object"?
No, well, there's no I object in a Jewish ceremony. But
Smart to leave that out.
No, but she was definitely there, begrudgingly. But she was there.
Tell me you at least danced with her.
No, there's no mixed gender dancing.
Oh, all right. Well, did you dance with your father-in-law?
Well, yeah, actually, we did. You know, not like arm in arm with one.
No, I understand.
A big circle of, you know.
How many years is it now that you've been married?
July 21st, 2013. So not quite 2.
Oh, well, she's got lots of time to warm up to you yet. Yeah, I wouldn't worry. She's still in shock.
I'm not holding my breath. I want to live longer.
Nah, she'll come to love you. You'll be best friends, right? Yeah. She loves her grandchild, doesn't she?
Yeah. Yep.
I remind her every time you get that, that's half you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, picking on you a little bit. I have nice in-laws. This time around. Last time around, not so much, but this time around, yeah, I've got some good in-laws.
Yeah.
Well, aren't your in-laws currently in Colombia?
That's one of the reasons. Yes.
Yeah.
No, they're actually really nice. I've been down there, and they're just as loving and sort of accepting of me as they are of their own daughter. So yeah,
Nice.
no problem with them this time.
That's good. It makes it sound like the first time was not so much the same case.
I have a much better relationship with my in-laws now than I ever had with my real parents. So yeah.
Wow.
I know. It's hard to imagine from both sides, I'm sure. It really is.
That's what my father-in-law loves me. My mother-in-law hates me. My sisters-in-law, my wife's sisters are all great. Her brothers are all jerks. I really don't know what happened with that. I always tease like you have to be adopted. There's no way.
That's funny.
Oh my. People are weird.
Like Jerry Seinfeld says, people, they're the worst.
Yeah.
I'm more like Daria says, hell is other people.
Ah. God, I didn't know I looked like this. I wouldn't have gone on camera.
Oh, wow. Your hair is like sticking straight up.
It looks great, Jeff. It looks
these headphones.
It looks
I
great.
didn't do a reality check before I came on.
Actually, I'm noticing that you look a lot more like me now, because now with that hair like that, I can sort of imagine the little bald parts that I can see. Just kind of imagine that frontal piece isn't really there anymore. And you look just like, and we look alike,
Yeah, bald men. We all look the same.
We look the same.
You do not look like my stepdad, Carlton, and he's bald.
I mean, he was bald. Yeah, this male pattern baldness thing seems to be more common than even I was led to believe.
Yep.
My sister just said,
I met a girl when I was 7 years old, and she was a Balding. Who's your last name? Christine Balding.
Ahaha, cute. Well, my son is he's losing most of his hair in the front, and he's only 24. Remember, it's just almost gone. It's like just wispy thin in the front. I'm like, wow, Greg, you look like an old man already. In another 10 years, you're going to look like you're 70. He didn't appreciate that as much as I thought it was funny.
Still have all of mine, but if hereditary indicators or any measure going from my father and my grandfather, I'll probably be completely bald by the time I'm 35. So. Wow.
Okay. So we have something to look forward to in the next year of Google, and then watching that stuff falling out.
Yeah. I've got 10 good years left.
You might get some good pictures now.
It's usually the maternal grandfather that's the big influence. But
is that how that works?
Yeah, I actually had a full head of hair through most of my 40s, and now it's thinning out quite a bit. I mean, I noticed it thinning out in my 40s. But, oh my God, it's sticking straight up. it's these headphones. Anyway, it's it's mostly maternal grandparents, but my grandfather he definitely had thinning hair, but mine didn't thin as much as his did. He had very thin hair in his 30s and 40s from the pictures that I've seen. So anyway, what are you gonna do?
Not a whole lot. I've been noticing getting a lot of those little crow's feet under my eyes. I gotta do something about that, so I can keep my youthful appearance for the women, for the sake of the women in my life.
Exactly.
What does it matter? It's just another print on your body.
It's yes, but when there's so many and the scale is tipped so far in one direction, anything you can do to kind of bring it back to balance is helpful. I can't do anything about the hair really, but maybe the little wrinkles I could, maybe some of those facial exercises, the isometric. Maybe I could get rid of a little of this extra, flab here. And I better be careful. I don't get muted again. This is probably not appropriate for a live conversation either. But, yeah.
Beauty tips from Carlton. Ooh, ah.
Just laugh lines.
You're on mute, Carlton.
Pretty sure you muted himself.
Oh, that's why I said a happy guy most of the time.
There we go.
Whose voice was that? That must have been somebody in Lindsay's room, I think.
That was my sister.
Oh, hi, sister.
I'm noisy, sorry. I'm doing narcissist things, talking to myself, sorry.
Don't feel bad. I do that all the time. Can't think of anybody I'd rather listen to.
It's really bad when you get in an argument, though.
It's bad when I lose the argument.
Yeah.
I can't even be my own best friend. Oh, dear.
I'm really debating whether or not. Sometimes if I read a really good book, I'll post a link to it on Amazon to kind of like advertise it and give it like a really good review or whatever. I'm really debating whether or not to do that with this because I don't know if I'm going to lose half of my friends on G Plus if I do.
What book are you reading?
It's really, really good. It's basically one of those. It comes from kind of like an off the beaten track publishing house called Inner Traditions, and it's called Judas of Nazareth, and it's basically a theory about historical Jesus that he's basically a literary composite based on a real person.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And, but it's a really unique. I've never actually heard this theory being based off of Judas the Galilean, who was a zealot.
Oh.
Yes, Ruben. But it's by Daniel Unterbrink, but it's a really compelling read, actually.
Okay. I'm going to see if I can get it in my library here. Daniel, what? Unterbrink?
Yeah, with a U, yeah.
Yeah, Unterbrink?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Close enough. That's an unusual name. There's not so many names there. So I was looking. I think Jeff, we talked last time. Last week I went to the cemetery and I was taking pictures of tombstones, and I was just I only had a half hour, so I was wandering through just looking for tombstones with unusual or not common names, not necessarily weirdly unusual, just not common. But I found one guy who's named Freddie McCool. That's a nice name. You gotta like that name. One guy was named Alpha Sam something. I forgot his last name, but it was the Alpha that sort of Alpha Johnson. I don't know what his last name was. It's kind of a weird name. There was a guy there named William Rape, which I pitied immediately and seeing that name. That had to be a tough one to grow up with.
I think I got too many dates.
Well, yeah, and God help, there's a whole bunch of disasters that could have happened depending on who he married if they hyphenated their last name. But yeah, none of them really good.
Yeah. This is Anna Rape Moore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, go down the list I came up with. But yeah, I really felt bad for that guy. That was one of those ones though that you look. I looked at that and I'm like, it just kind of amazed me that somebody would not have changed their name. I mean, I'm sorry, but really.
There was a realtor, actually, it's the guy who I bought my house from in Cleveland before we moved here after I got married. His last name was Hyman,
Oh God.
spelled the same way as the anatomy, and his first name. He always, I don't know why he actually. I wish he would have gone by his legal name, which was Bernard, but everyone called him Buster. So
Yeah, no wonder.
yeah. And like he never got it. Like he never understood why everyone thought his name was so hilarious. He's not an unintelligent guy either. He was very smart, but he just like, oh, here comes whatever. Like
Wow.
his nickname, like around the hood, so to speak, was Cherry Pop.
Yeah.
And, it was a really unfortunate name.
See, now here's a name. This is a woman, and just her last name was Kayson, Kison, not a big deal. But her full name was Beulah Chumbly Kayson. I think that's a mouthful. Beulah Chumbly. No, I'm looking at the ones now. Yeah, William Rape, got him there. Got Bill. This one was kind of a neat name. Lara Coffee. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not Lara. It's Clara. The C is almost obscured. It's Clara Coffee Shell. I thought that was a neat name. Just odd Coffee Shell. Okay. Who else we have here? Oh, Nanny Lurch. I'm not sure that's a great name. She had to be like a child care specialist or something. I don't know. We have Valeria Gott Murphy. I just can only hope there that her husband's last name was Murphy. That would have made that perfect. Edward Hunt Street. Again, just kind of odd. I'm kind of reading these tombstones as I go here. Anna Mary Moon. Okay. That had to be worth something in high school. Edith Myra Flegel. Just kind of odd. Here's one. John McCheesy Hogshed. The third, no less. Not McCheesy, excuse me, McChesney. Okay, that is a little bit better.
No, you and your crazy names.
I was just checking to make sure I wasn't muted yet. Okay. We have Silas Schweier. Just kind of. All right. Nancy Dragoo Lane. Nancy Dragoo Lane. The wife's name is not so good. The husband's name is better, but it's Rose T. Gulahan, wife of Arthur Roy Pickle. Kartenauer, that's a weird last name. I've never heard that before. Oh yeah, it's Frankie. It was Frankie Edwards McCool, McCool. Tell me he couldn't have got a job as a rap star or something. That just, Okay, Alpha Lee. It was Johnson. Alpha Lee Johnson. Yeah, she's nothing. Quay Morgan. Anybody else heard somebody with a first name Quay? Quay.
Well, my sister just said Quentin.
Well, Quentin, yeah, but I've never heard Quay. Maybe it's short for. Maybe that's short for that. I don't know. Anyway, odd names. That's all. Sorry. All right. Well, I'm gonna bring my plate downstairs. I'll catch up with you guys a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ciao. Yep.
See you, Carlton.
No, he speaks. Ruben and Gav are engaging in text conversation.
Chief!
Indeed they were, once upon a time.
Chief! You see how awesome my what? Whoa. My head is oh,
We can
oh,
hear
this
you.
is the best ever. What the fuck? Turn on mute. No.
We were trying to take a picture.
Check it out. There's like. Whoa. Can't stop.
None of you were offended, were you? No, Gav is typing.
I don't think you understand just how much it takes to offend me. It's
Okay.
virtually impossible.
And Ruben's saying yes, but he doesn't matter.
I'm sorry, Ruben. I know that was really boring, and I won't do it again.
I don't know. I think I missed it, so I wasn't offended.
Okay. Sorry, anyways. More about.
Oh, he was saying yes to Gav, not to us. He wasn't even paying attention to us. No, I don't want to smell your foot. I'm talking in my hangout. So, Gav, do you have any topics you want to talk about?
As long as they're not politics or religion, I'm kind of worn out on those. So.
Okay, let's not talk about any of those. Earlier, Jeff and I were talking about medication.
Can we talk about the
Oh, that's.
No, I didn't like that show. Sorry, my sister's talking to me.
Yeah, I guess I was in the area of psychology and psychiatry. I was expressing my skepticism about medicalizing behavioral issues and such, as opposed to doing like talk therapy and stuff like that, to help people who maybe have unresolved conflicts, which may in fact even be embedded in their subconscious. It seems that in some cases it's likely that medicalizing those kinds of problems rather than dealing with them and being fully focused and doing so might actually have better long-term effects than masking the problems and potentially making one less able to deal with such issues. So that's my concern. I'm not a professional in that area, but I have heard professionals in those areas express the same concerns. So it's not totally out of left field, but that's just something we were discussing.
I think that it's wrong to put like younger people on medication because your brain isn't like fully developed then.
Yeah. And yet,
That's why like I didn't go on meds until I was 23 or so.
But you do know that in the U.S. at least, all kinds of behavioral issues are being medicalized. Ritalin is prescribed rampantly throughout the public schools in the U.S. Any number of psychotropic drugs are routinely prescribed to by educational people, not even medical practitioners in many cases. So it's a real problem here. But I don't know that it's exclusively a problem with young people, but that's where it's probably most egregious.
Isn't Ritalin amphetamine thing my sister has?
Yeah. I guess apparently amphetamines have a calming effect for people of younger years. Ironically, I don't know, but anyway, it seems to me something to be concerned about.
Oh well, Alex said that it was gross.
Yeah, my face would fall off if I did amphetamines. Nasty.
I was never put on Ritalin, even though I was classified with ADD in school. My mom was against it. She said no to medication growing up. And then when I was 18 and able to make my own choices, I said no to meds because I didn't believe in doing medication that early in life. But now that I've been on it for over 5 years, I don't know what life would be without it. But I strive to get off of it. To function without it would be nice.
That's true.
My parents had me on Ritalin for about a week when I was very young, and they took me off of it immediately because I would just sit and stare. Like and my father was against it from the get-go, actually, because the teachers at my school at the time, I was like, oh well, he's not paying attention. All he wants to do is run around and play. And so, yeah, no kidding. He's a 9-year-old boy. So I mean, after about a week of that, they said, okay, no more.
Yeah, it just seems to me crazy how overprescribed it is, and the long-term side effects really aren't yet known.
Yeah.
And as Thomas, I love the Thomas Sowell quote. He always says, everybody likes to talk about learning disabilities, but nobody likes to talk about teaching disabilities. And to medicalize people who aren't performing in the government schools, could be masking a problem that's much deeper and much more obvious, actually.
Right. I like Thomas Sowell a lot. I actually have a few of his books.
Yeah, he's quite a great mind.
I mean, he's sharp as a tack. I mean, really. I don't know. It'd be really something to watch him debate some of these people that.
Oh well, you just go into YouTube and type Thomas Sowell debates, and you'll be in for several evenings of excellent entertainment and enlightenment at the same time. Yeah.
I really enjoyed his economic facts and fallacies was pretty good. That was really good one. And his critique of the education system is, I think, is like I had a lot of these ideas floating around in my head for you. My sister's a public school teacher in California, actually. The things I hear from her all the time dovetail pretty much exactly with all of what his main objections are. I mean,
Right. Yeah, some of his debates about the minimum wage and things like that are excellent. All of these economic fallacies he just really destroys, and does so in a way that's very accessible to laypersons and isn't laden with academic jargon and stuff like that. Really good stuff.
Oh wow. I thought I don't know. Never mind. Um Up here in my city, there's a lot of support in schools for people that have learning disabilities or kids that have codes like code 42 or 56 or 40, and those are behavioral problems or mood problems.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a coded group in high school where I was in mainstream school, but I was able to leave class and go to a tutorial class where they would help me with my work in an environment that was well suited for me, where I couldn't focus in a classroom. And I'm glad I had that.
Mm. I tend to think that children are just natural learning beings and so curious about the world, and they can learn so much within a short period of time at some ages. For example, languages. Children can learn languages much more efficiently than adults can.
oh yeah,
And I think schooling itself, government schooling, one size fits all schooling, actually is more destructive towards that natural tendency than it is helpful. In most cases, there are some kids who can do reasonably well in the government schools, but for the most part, I think it kills rote memorization and irrelevance and all of that stuff, and the lack of context with so much education, so-called education. I think that really kills the desire to learn, and that's why people need to be treated against it. But what's the real abnormality, and what should be treated? What is the problem? The problem isn't, in many cases, it's not the children. It's the institutionalized learning.
sure.
It's so abysmally taught.
Yeah, I agree. There's a really famous quote by Mark Twain, like, "I never let my schooling interfere with my education." And I think it's really kind of insightful. The reality is that your average 18-year-old that went through the standard school system, the last 13 years they've had their creativity stifled so much that by the time that you're 18 years old, like, you have almost no motivation to do anything else. Like, you're kind of burnt out because it's a system. Like, I went to a private school and I felt that way, honestly.
Yeah. Well, if you read, there was a guy who's written several books who I think is really brilliant, and I'll think of his name in a second. But he was actually Teacher of the Year in the New York City school system for a couple of years, and then he quit because he was so disgusted. Even though everything that had brought him all this renown, it was resisted heavily along the way. But one of the many things that he wrote in his in his books was that if you think about, we probably all had the same experience, at least I did in middle school and high school, where you would be in a class for 50 minutes or maybe an hour and 10 minutes or whatever it was, had 6 or 7 classes. So he would say, let's say that you're in an English class and you're, by some miracle, you're getting really immersed in the poetry and everything, and all of a sudden the bell rings and you have to switch to geometry or physical education or anything like that, and you have to do that 5 or 6 other times a day, where you get really immersed in a subject, and you'd have to end it. And he pointed out this is a recipe for insanity. So the model is just hideous on so many levels, and that one hit home with me. If you're really studying something and you're into it and you're immersed in it, stick with it. Don't bounce around and have all of these random classes. We can't really mentally process all that, and we can't possibly get into it with the same degree of intensity that we can if we study an individual subject for long periods of time. So.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, his name is John Taylor Gatto. It just came to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality, from what I hear, it's especially bad in New York City. Like it's a unique case of an already bad template.
But Detroit is also cited for, most, almost a majority of the graduates can't really fill out job applications or really do anything. Which, if they were private schools, they would be sued for fraud. I mean, giving somebody a diploma who can't basically read or write would be considered fraudulent by most standards.
For sure.
So yeah, it's worse in those areas, but it's not unique to those areas. It's a difference in degree, not really, not of kind.
Right. I mean, the way my sister explains it is that teachers' unions basically ensure that bad teachers stick around, mediocre teachers get promoted to administrative positions, and the really good teachers either get so disgusted they leave, or they just get shuffled around the system so much because they make too many waves before they can do any real good.
Yeah, or a teacher who's really horrible will just get transferred to another district, usually a less politically connected district. Or the one thing about New York that is probably far worse than any place else is that it is harder. To my understanding, it's harder to fire a teacher in New York than anywhere else, and that you actually have teachers who are known abusers of kids or sexually harass kids or worse, and they can't even get rid of them. And they report to a lounge and spend 8 hours a day, not teaching, of course, but just warehouse, because they can't be fired under that system. And no, it's just horrible.
Yeah, I'm not a real big fan of unions to begin with. I think so. Here's my thing about the union. It started as a good idea, I think, and now it's just kind of morphed into this creature with way too much power.
Well, it's there's nothing wrong with a union as long as if a union wants to go on strike, if their workers aren't being paid the market rates, then organizing and all that stuff is just fine. But the problem is that they've been given basically monopoly power. So if you're a union and you say your wages are unfair or this or that, or you want to recommend a guild or have a fraternity, that's all just fine and dandy. But but the firm ought to have the same freedom as the union, which is to say that if the union strikes and others are willing to work for the wages or the conditions that the union members are on strike for, then they should be allowed. That's what freedom is. So organizing and being part of unions or guilds or anything like that, that's a fine tradition. But it's as soon as they get the power of the state and they get the power of they act like a monopoly and only they can work there, and you have to negotiate them. That's obviously a violation of the rights of those who would employ them.
I would agree. I would tend to agree. I mean, I know in the auto industry there was a plant for Chrysler in Twinsburg, Ohio, which is not that far from Cleveland, where I grew up. And my thing is if you really want to pay those type of wages, I mean, some of these guys were making between $30 and $40 an hour, literally to push a button every 15 minutes.
Right.
These were not difficult jobs at all. But I mean, if you're going to be paying those kind of wages, the union should be like an exclusive club, like where you have to prove yourself as like a very efficient, honest, hardworking member of the team to be a part of. But the reality is that by the time that plant closed down, because of the union was so powerful, there were guys that were coming in, clocking into their jobs, and going back out to the parking lot to, shoot up heroin and get drunk and stuff, and they were still getting paid, and they couldn't fire them. So I mean,
Right.
a lot of those guys were almost embarrassed to be associated with some of these bums.
Yeah, and for after World War II, the two biggest competitors with the U.S. auto industry had been decimated, Japan and Germany. So a lot of this stuff was able to perpetuate, and demand had been raised by the suspension of auto production during the war to the point where all of these union demands could be accommodated and passed along to the consumer without any apparent consequences. But over time, it totally subsumed the manufacturers, and that's why General Motors and Chrysler and Ford, they couldn't compete anymore. Of course, they're too big to fail. They should have been allowed to drop off into the dustbin of history, but unfortunately, they were very politically connected, and so they got bailouts. So those resources that they have, which could have gone to more profitable and more efficient ways of manufacturing, were deprived from the market, and we're instead keeping these dinosaurs afloat. And they become useful tools for the regime and everything else. So,
Right. Too big to fail. That's like too fat to diet. I mean,
yeah. I mean, they're too big to succeed.
Are you on camera?
So anyway,
well, that's like the Postal Service and like Amtrak. I mean, these are technically, companies more or less, but they've never ever turned a profit, and they're not going to because they're more or less owned by the government. I mean, the purpose of government is antithetical to making anything really successful. So.
Right. I mean, does anybody really think that UPS and FedEx couldn't deliver a letter? But if they do think that, why would they make competition with the U.S. Postal Service illegal? So if the U.S. Postal Service really is the only institution that can deliver a first-class letter to somebody else, well, then they shouldn't be fearful of competition. But it's not that nobody can compete with them; is that they're banned by law from competing with them, and the same goes with Amtrak and all the rest. And just generally, the things that we all think are subpar and just intrinsically just lousy, those are all things that are done by the coercive method of government. They're not. we're constantly amazed by what entrepreneurs think about and the things they come up with in the private sector, things that we didn't even know we wanted. Because I don't know. I remember when the iPhone came out, and I thought, well, who in the world would want to check their email, when they're out and around? And now these things are indispensable. I mean, people predicted things that we would want that we didn't even know we'd want, and this is what happens in the private sector. But on the same token, we're taxed and we're told we have to keep the post office running in the same way that it ran in 1950, which is absurd. So it's
I think we should get mail on Saturday.
Oh, we do here. I mean, we have spam 6 days a week here in the U.S., but we were told that they may stop delivering it on the weekends, which I don't think I would miss it at all. Anything of importance I have sent to me electronically.
Well, they're thinking about privatizing the Canadian postal system here.
Well, that's a terrific idea. I wish they would think about that here, but they haven't. Any aspects of the postal system that they have privatized, and by that I mean turned over to the markets. I don't mean granting to some sweetheart government franchise, but really making it part of the market, like FedEx and UPS has been superb. I mean, try tracking a U.S. Postal Service package. As compared to UPS or whatever they have.
Never mind that. I have something coming from freaking Egypt, and it's taking forever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people tend to think, oh, that's so important. The government has to do it. To me, it's like, well, if it's really important, then the government's the last person you want to handle it.
Well, we're not going to talk about politics. Oh, good one there. Trying to wrap me into that. I don't want to talk about American politics. The Canadian is ruling the hangout right now. The Canadian.
Well, you said the Canadians were going to privatize their postal system. That's great.
Yeah. I hope they do.
Yeah.
I only get one bill, 2 bills in the mail. And it's because they don't do emails.
Mm-hmm.
Bastards. Wasting trees.
Yeah.
Hey, J-Dubs. Nice to see you.
How you doing, Lindsay? What's up? What's going on?
Welcome to the wee roller coaster of conversations.
Whee! Sounds like fun.
It is so far.
I still try to use the USPS whenever I can. They're usually cheaper to ship a package, and I don't know. My dad was a postmaster really for a while, so I'm a wee bit partial, but
You're a wee
there's a
bit.
few things government should just get out of, like everything.
Indeed. Well, if it's something that's really unimportant, yeah, I give it to the USPS.
Well, I mean,
If it's something that I really want to get there, I go with FedEx and whatever.
what I don't understand is why public funds are still being used to fund government agencies that have outlived their mandates by decades, like the Rural Electrification Act, which was supposed to bring electricity to rural America, and like that's past its its purpose was by decades and decades and decades now, but they're still funding it by millions of dollars every year.
Well, yeah, that's the problem. It's not just, well, is this gonna meet this short-term purpose? But when these institutions form, they don't want to say, oh, well, we've done our job. We're gonna have to go get real jobs now. No, they find some other reason to exist. I think one of the most infamous examples is the excise tax on tires was actually, which we still pay, was actually to fight the war of the Spanish-American War in 1898. So yeah, these things never go away. NATO. Look at NATO. That was all about.
1991, that should have been.
Yeah, right. Exactly. No, these things never go away. They get bigger. They morph into things that far.
Well, it's like the Johnstown tax, the alcohol tax in Pennsylvania. It was,
But the Johnstown flood.
yeah, like in.
I haven't heard that one. That's a good one. Yeah.
Well, no, I think it started in theory, it started as a very noble idea that like a temporary tax on alcohol to raise funds for the flood victims, but 2015, it's still there. And all these flood victims, I think, have passed away of old age by now. It happened in I'm going to say the 30s or something like that. It was a long, long time ago.
Long time ago, yeah. I mean, I was in. I had friends in Johnstown, and I went on the inclined plane into Johnstown, and the flood had been, I think 30s, maybe even before that.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, yeah. There's nothing more permanent than a temporary government program.
Exactly. And sadly, now we have the war on terror, which seems that'll never end. And it's a war against an abstraction.
Well, yeah, that's just
what a perfect government program that is.
Absolutely, because terror. I mean, it's very hard to kill an idea. It's borderline impossible, especially when you keep on changing the definitions to broaden the parameters of the idea.
Yeah. Can't sign a treaty with an abstraction. Right.
And then I'm trying to. What was I supposed to? Oh, I lost my train of thought. But that's one of the reasons why, if you think about it, the French Revolution never really ended either. It was a fight for liberty, fraternity, and prosperity, which was what their whole national mantra is still all about. And it's an abstraction that none of them seem to be able to define. Not that I'm trying to offend French people, but I mean that's just kind of one of my feelings about their national history and kind of what they're all about is they don't really know what they're all about anymore. It's just a slogan. Yeah, no, that's true. And you see this with the Occupy movement. You really try to pin people down on what they think are the Tea Party, and it's it's a lot of slogans and half-digested ideas, and nothing that's anything resembling a coherent, consistently philosophical position. So. Right, like the whole. Well, so many people they want to broad stroke anything that's outside of their movement or their cause or whatever. I heard some lady, I heard a college professor at Case Western University was saying was President. Don't get me wrong, I am not defending President Bush ever. Right. About how he was the worst president on civil rights in a time of warfare. I was like, you've obviously never heard of FDR or Woodrow Wilson or, FDR. People, they love to give credit to FDR for so many things, but they like to conveniently forget his executive order to have Japanese Americans rounded up and put into what were basically concentration camps for 4 years. Yeah. Horrific.
Oh, too bad J-Dub's left.
Yeah, I have to step away for a minute. I'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Okay. I can just harass Gav now and move it in the down corner. I'm kidding. I'm so busy with my text message, to my email, to my Facebook, to Google+. Lindsay, be busy. So you enjoying your time off, Gav?
Yeah, more or less. It's nice to be home and spend time with my wife and my kid. Other than that, I really can't do much. I have to be very careful physically. I have to go have a minor surgery on the 23rd to get the stitches out of my side and my abdomen.
Oh, just do it yourself.
I'm not a surgeon, so no.
Surprised they didn't put dissolving ones in. Wow. I don't know what to talk about. I feel dumb. I feel so dumb and lost in a lot of these conversations. But were you in when they were talking about wages in the other room? I know, Ruben, you were there. Were you there, Gav, when they were talking about it?
No.
Oh, well. Absolute Atheism said that most homeless people that he's talked to in the area enjoy being homeless and don't want to be homeless rather than having a home to live and having a responsibility. Which that's a generalized.
Well, I'd say that's absolutely false. I mean, most of the homeless people I knew were mentally ill and they couldn't function or hold down a job, and that's why they were homeless. It has nothing to do with their personal choice.
I know, and I couldn't talk on mic at the time, so I wrote in text. I'm like, but they discarded my text, so it didn't really matter. But he just said it was from the people that he experienced talking to, not. But a lot of the homeless are usually, you're right, mentally ill, and the system itself has not been able to help them, or has stopped helping them, or there is no system to help them at all. I'll be right back in like 3 minutes. Well, I'm just gonna take it off air right now because it's so silent in here, and no one likes listening to
I'm
silence.
going. I'm going to go to bed anyway. So you all have a nice evening. Take care.
Okay.
Night, Gav.
Nice seeing you. Anyways, thank you for coming along. You're welcome to stay in the off-air hangout, but I think I'm gonna go because I'm kind of like freaking out right now. So,
All right, Lindsay, take care. I'm probably going to head out too.
okay, nice to see you all.
Yeah, great.